Tropical storm Bret leaves homes and businesses damaged in its wake. The number of Barbadians still without power down from thousands to hundreds. A major development in Barbados push for accessible financing for small island developing states. And in sports, Sri Lanka and Scotland stay undefeated at the World Cup qualifiers.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. Tropical storm Bret left its mark on Barbados yesterday. It caused heavy rainfall in some areas, wind gusts that ripped off at least one roof and battered other structures, and a surging surf that slammed the coastline, causing considerable damage to a cliffside restaurant. Crystal Hoyt has the details.
Tropical storm Bret resulted in significant damage to popular tourism attraction Animal Flower Cave. Owner Manuel Ward told CBC News the first storm of the season being this destructive is concerning.
We have had damage in the restaurant. We've had windows broken, different structural things broken, the shingles on the roof blown off, torch horn blown off. Most of that was done by the waves, because the waves were coming right up on top of the roof. One of my vendors' stalls was completely destroyed. The guides' hut, where the guides do their business from, about a third of that's been destroyed. We had a fencing around the cave that was mashed up. Water damage going into the restaurant, into the bar. Mr.
Ward says the full repair will cost thousands of dollars.
Between $15,000 to $20,000 by the time I do all the repairs and everything. Sadly, of course, it's already covered with insurance because you have your deductible. So insurance really works if you get a total wipeout. But for things like this here, you still have to end up pulling your pocket. So I am pushing hard to try and get back open tomorrow.
MP for St. Lucie, Peter Phillips, was on hand to assess the damage to businesses and houses. Among those residents he visited was Winston Ben, whose neighbor, although preferring not to be on camera, recounted what happened.
The whole roof left over, and I look out, I see the brother then. I don't know if he went up there in that little garage, but I see he went in. I see the roof and everything. So when two neighbors come up, and we had to lay pounds and help him to get the roof on, because we didn't know what was going to happen. In case it get more rain, we still got something over the head, But they really need a lot of help, a real lot of help.
MP Phillips says these weather systems highlight the weaknesses in Barbados's housing stock.
It shows up as well the fact that we have persons who are not necessarily in a position to be able to strengthen their various residences. But wherever help is required, I'm working hard to make sure that they get that help to be able to bring their houses up to the standard. And we talk about distribution of hurricane straps and those things, so that we, rather than having to come to a disaster, we want to be able to strengthen and avoid those kind of catastrophes.
Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Acting Prime Minister Santia Bradshaw toured impacted areas in St. Lucie from Pie Corner to Spring Garden. She was joined by Minister of Home Affairs Wilfred Abrams, Member of Parliament for St. Lucie Peter Phillips, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Dr. Rommel Springer, and the Director of the Department of Emergency Management Kerry Hines.
We are actually now on the ground. The assessors are out and they are trying to ensure that they get to as many of the persons. There are about 13 households that we'd identified that they had some challenges with their houses, whether they'd lost the roofs or in some cases there was damage to the actual physical structure. So those assessors are actually talking to the families to do an assessment so that we know how to place them, how to assist them in whatever ways. Accommodation will obviously be provided for persons who've been displaced.
Ms. Bradshaw warned Barbadians to be prepared.
The takeaway for households and certainly individuals is that we cannot be complacent. We are started the hurricane season, and it is very likely that these systems are going to continue, and perhaps just as we are seeing two more systems coming off of the African coast, we have to be mindful that we're going to continue to see that over the course of this hurricane season and perhaps into September and October. So it means that Barbadians have to get prepared for any eventuality.
And earlier, the acting Prime Minister said after witnessing the response firsthand, some mechanisms will need to be tweaked.
What we got the opportunity to do over the last few hours has been to be able to operationalize a lot of those procedures. So as you operationalize, sometimes you have to fine-tune. And therefore, if you ask me whether it was a perfect execution, by no means was it perfect. But what we were able to do, given that the system did not actually hit Barbados and did not cause the level of devastation that it's obviously going on to do in other territories, is that we've been able to step back and to assess our emergency response mechanisms, and now we have the opportunity to fine-tune them.
Prime Minister Mia Motley has been monitoring the passage of Tropical Storm Bret. She says Barbadians will regrettably have to get accustomed to more climate events, from droughts to sargassum seaweed to floods and hurricanes. Ms. Motley, who is meeting with world leaders in France, says she kept in close contact with the acting Prime Minister to ensure that all was in order. She also thanked the acting Prime Minister and the Minister of Home Affairs, as well as the Barbados Meteorological Services, the Department of Emergency Management, the Ministry of Education and all of the essential services for coordinating the island's preparedness for the storm. Well, more than 3,000 Barbadian Light and Power Company customers were without electricity this morning owing to the tropical storm. An update from the company around 5 this evening indicated that its crews had reduced that number to less than 300.
Rigorous effort today has resulted in only 237 customers currently awaiting restoration. These customers are at Mellows Hill and Tent Bay St. Joseph, Cliff Cottage St. John, Mandalay and Well House in St. Philip, Oystons Christchurch, and in Gibbs St. Peter. There are also a few customers in need of individual attention. We are aware, and we will address these as soon as possible. As always, thank you for your patience today. Safety is paramount. Crews and teams will continue the effort over the next few hours to restore electricity to everyone.
It was just around 6:15 this morning that Minister of Home Affairs and Information Wilfred Abrams issued the all clear. Bus service by the Barbados Transport Board resumed at 7:30 and the Grantley Adams Airport was reopened at 7 this morning. Minister Abrams says technology was vital in allowing the team comprising the officers of the Port Authority, the police and defence forces to quickly complete the initial damage assessment.
Normally, when we do the on-the-ground inspection and the teams go out to verify the damage and assess, we have to do it manually. People literally drive the roadway, all the highways, all the major roads, all the bus routes to check visually for blockages or anything that might be dangerous. With the use of drone technology and with the drone team from those agencies that I just spoke about, we were able to do what normally takes us maybe 1.5 to 2 hours. We were able to do that in less than 10 minutes. So technology was put to very, very good use this morning. The press was able to see some of it in action, so I hope to share some shots of it with you later. But literally, we had multiple drones in the air that were trailing the roadways, providing camera footage, going in for detailed shots, to be able to enable us to make the assessment in the short time that we were able to.
Well, this morning's assessment of schools found there was no damage. While there was no school today, students sitting the Cape Communications exam were accommodated. A decision was taken for that exam to begin at 9:30 this morning. We'll take a break here, but coming up, the Prime Minister's push for more affordable financing for small island developing states bearing fruit. Barbados has formed a coalition of multilateral banks and organizations to develop resilient infrastructure and drive new social and nature capital investments. The announcement was made at the Summit for a New Global Financing Pact in Paris. The integrated package of innovative initiatives will accelerate its transition to net zero, boost resilience, enfranchise workers, and draw in private sector investment. This package of incentives reflects unprecedented cooperation and a new system approach between the government, its Resilience and Sustainability Facility at the International Monetary Fund, and Barbados' long-standing financing partners, including the Inter-American Development Bank and the World Bank Group. In a first of its kind, Barbados has decided to use $10 million from the fiscal space created by the RSF as capital for a new blue-green blank. Meanwhile, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Motley says she has seen movement on climate action since the launch of the Bridgetown Initiative. Despite its name, she says it is not solely about Barbados. The Barbadian leader was at the time speaking to thousands of young people attending a side event of the summit for a new global financing pact dubbed The Power of Our Planet, live from Paris.
It's about all of us. It's an inclusive process. And all of us need to act today in order to save the planet tomorrow. I see so many young people in here, and you are the ones who must make that progress. We will only get there. We will only get where we need to go if you are prepared to step up to the plate and if the countries across the world can increase the scale and the speed of what we have to do.
Ms. Motley's message to world leaders, financial institutions and the private sector: come together and put the funds necessary to assist the world's most vulnerable countries adapt and withstand the climate crisis.
Only then will we make sure that we leave behind a livable world for our children. And my friends, action cannot be taken sometime off in the future. It needs to take today, today, today. That is why I'm thrilled to be sharing the stage with the new president of the World Bank, Ajay Banga. Ajay, your shoulders have to be broad for this moment. He's only been in office 19 days, but we want you to make the difference.
And President of the World Bank, Ajay Banga, says development delayed is development denied. He plans to adopt a new mission and vision for the World Bank.
In my view, that vision is very simple. Create a world free of poverty on a livable planet. The livable planet is really important. To make that vision a reality, we need a new playbook. We need new ideas. We need the private sector, yes, but we need to be more focused on what is right, not what is convenient. We have to reimagine our approach to crisis, preparedness, response, recovery. That's what Mia has been championing. That is why today I'm very proud to announce a new debt pause option for countries suffering in the aftermath of a natural disaster.
And Barbados, though being a middle-income developing country, faces the reality of a gross domestic product being set back by one crisis. This picture was painted by Minister of Foreign Affairs Carrie Symonds, who took part in one of the numerous meetings at the Climate Pact Summit in France. He told the forum the climate crisis concerns real lives and real people with real problems seeking solutions. He says the evidence is there.
Very often, if we get bogged down in the politics of the thing and the academics of the thing without, as my Prime Minister just said, seeing people, touching people, feeling people, hearing people, and being in connection with their rapidly changing and transforming reality on a day-by-day basis, these people with families to feed, these people who are being forced to leave hearth and home, these people who are being forced to adapt in a way that their countries are not adapting, will find it very difficult to continue to exist.
Commonwealth Secretary-General, the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, says the current financial model is not fit for 2023. She adds the world is in crisis and crying for help.
We argue, and you will know strongly, that we now need a universal vulnerability index. There have been many forms discussed, and the multi-dimensional vulnerability index, which is being advocated throughout the UN, is a species of the universal vulnerability index. But what do we know? We cannot any longer use the simple matrix of GDP. The days when you could look at GDP as an expression of the fiscal rectitude of a country have gone.
The drought continues to put a strain on Barbados' groundwater reserves, but the Barbados Water Authority is now in a better position to manage the resource. The BWA now has at its disposal new groundwater monitoring systems which allow the authority to see what's happening with the island's groundwater in real time. The systems are a gift from the U.S. government and cost close to $300,000. And accepting that donation, Acting Prime Minister Cynthia Bradshaw says these tools are now critical to the BWA's response to drought and other challenges affecting the water supply.
The total number of the groundwater monitoring systems that are being donated are 42. We've already had 4 of them installed at Wilmington, Tappy Pond, Sweetvale, and Canefield. And this investment, well, you know, we could say it is not significant, but I think it is quite significant given the fact that we have not had anything like this done before, and given the importance of climate change and the need to be able to assess our precious water resources.
The donation forms part of the Strengthening Disaster and Climate Resilience in the Eastern and Southern Caribbean project, sponsored by USAID, the United States Agency for International Development. The Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology has partnered with the BWA in the data gathering exercise. Their principal, Dr. David Farrell, is confident the technology will enhance the way the country responds to droughts.
One of the things that the Barbados Water Authority will be able to do is certainly manage this, monitor the state of groundwater intrusion in coastal aquifers and be able to make rapid adjustments to pumping to manage the situation. Again, this is state of the art. We've never really had situations where we could do this routinely, turn on and turn down pumping as required to manage certainly things like saltwater intrusion. Having such information will not only support monitoring groundwater conditions, which may result from drought. And we talk about drought. And certainly, once we have the data, we can start to predict what will happen to water resources during drought.
In business tonight, $38 million is to be made available to Barbados following the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund's completion of the first reviews of the Extended Fund Facility and Resilience and Sustainability Facility arrangements. In a statement, the IMF said the local economy had recovered with 8 consecutive quarters of growth and continues expanding in 2023, underpinned by an ongoing rebound in tourism and related activities. It notes the country's fiscal balance has significantly improved and public debt has been placed on a downward path, reaching 122.5% of GDP at the end of the fiscal year last. In addition, the IMF says international reserves have risen to US $1.6 billion as of the end of March, covering over 7 months of imports. Following the Executive Board's discussion, Jita Gopnath, the first Deputy Managing Director and Acting Chair of the Board, said the island is making good progress in implementing its homegrown economic recovery and transformation program and ambitious climate policy agenda. She adds that while inflation has increased with the rise in global food and fuel prices, it is projected to be moderate in coming months. Ms. Gopnath is also suggesting continued progress on state-owned enterprises and pension reform is important. Another change in the development of the automotive industry. The Nissan e-Power X-Trail was unveiled earlier this week. Trevor Thorpe reports.
No more charging stations. That's one of the benefits identified by Regional Product Manager for Nissan Vehicles at Courtesy Garage, Sam Gaston, as the covers came off the new Nissan e-Power X-Trail at the Caribbean launch in Jamaica this week. He told the Business Report the e-Power X-Trail is the vehicle which will change the automotive industry forever.
Well, for the industry, it gives us a better footprint when it comes to the whole new concept of electric vehicles and what's available. This vehicle, the e-Power configuration, is really ideal for us right now. A lot of the countries that have issues in terms of charging stations and what's not, that would also bring some of that to a head, because with this vehicle, you do not actually have to go and physically plug it into a charger.
Technology has changed, and the Nissan official said e-Power is a new concept and is an electrical driving experience.
The concept is very different to what we know as hybrid. In the hybrid configuration, the vehicle drives on the electric or on the engine. In the e-Power configuration, the vehicle does not drive on the engine. The engine is simply a generator to produce the power for the motor.
Senior General Manager Nicholas Mackey said the technology has been tried and tested and there are no range limitations with e-power. He adds that the concept supports government's call for greening Barbados.
The government has been incentivizing the change, which is necessary in order to change the existing units in operation. They're going to be, the incentives I think will continue for another year, maybe two, in order to get more people into electric vehicles over the next, we have to hurdle is another 7 years.
In-house training is in place for technical specialists at the dealers and will be expanded to the classrooms of the Samuel Jackman Prescott Institute of Technology. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
Time for our traditional second look at sports. Once again, here's Mark Seal.
We're going to start with netball, where the Barbados team for next month's World Cup has been announced, and it includes two former England players. Sisters Sasha and Kadeen Corbin have been selected after making themselves available for national duty.
Very excited to be a part of the Barbadian Gems. It's a huge privilege and honour to be able to represent the flag. Our parents are from here. Well, my dad is from here, and this year we did bury my grandma. So it is a tough time, but also a beautiful time to be able to honour our family. It's our first time ever going to a World Cup, and first time ever representing the Barbadian Gems, so it's a very exciting time.
I definitely feel we'll bring some experience. We've obviously been in the international scene before. We've obviously played for England, and we've been a part of a professional league in England. So we do bring a wealth of experience, but we also are excited just with the opportunity, as well as it is our first World Cup, so we don't actually know how World Cups go, but we have been in major competitions as a Commonwealth Games, so we understand the process. So it's more to do with just enjoying it and having fun, and what the performance that you put out on court, you just put your 100%. But I'm just super stoked.
Manager Denise Morgan announced the full squad at the BTMI, where it was also announced that defensive player Victoria Monville will have to be replaced due to injury.
Our captain, Faye Agard, vice captain, Tonisha Rockia, Latonia Blackman, our most capped player, Brianna Holder, Akina Stout, Tamara Trotman, Kimani Archer, Demaya Walren, Teresa Howell, and joining us from the UK, Sasha Corbin and Kadeen Corbin. Now, like in most things, you make your plans and then other things happen. And unfortunately, at the very last moment, we've come down with an injury. And so we need to make a replacement, and that will be announced very shortly.
And BNA President Dr. Carmita Duglin says one of the aims of the World Cup is to improve the national team's world ranking, which is currently 14th. Now, reaching that goal will continue right after the World Cup.
We're hoping to improve our ranking at Netball World Cup, and we still have some other feats happening after Netball World Cup. We're hoping to go to the OECS Games. We have no money for that, so we're asking persons to come on board and support that initiative, because the more games we play, the higher our ranking will be, even especially if we are winning games. And for sure, at OECS, we normally dominate. We win those games, and we get ranking points. At Netball World Cup, there are 16 teams, and we expect that we will also be winning games. We have a difficult pool, Pool B, but we're still aiming to make sure that we get 2 wins in that pool.
Now, that 2023 Vitality Netball World Cup will be in Cape Town, South Africa from July 28th to August 6th. Joining the players at the team announcement were representatives of the sponsors, the Barbados Olympic Association, the National Sports Council, and the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc. The route setters for Sol Rally Barbados 2023 have come in for a high praise. It's from WRC champions Dane Skeet and Tyler Mayhew. However, it wasn't plain sailing for the homeboys as they finished second overall in the grueling three-day event recently. CBC's Trevor Thorpe reports.
In the company of co-driver Tyler Mayhew in the Automotive Art, CO Williams Sand and Lime, Sol Subaru Impreza S12, Skeet grabbed the WRC title but lost the overall honours by 0.88 of a second. His time was 1 hour 29.29 seconds, compared with 1 hour 28.41 seconds for the New Zealand pair of Hayden Padden and John Kennard in a Hyundai i20 R5. I asked him how he felt about the result.
A little disappointed, I can't lie. It was definitely tough to get pipped on that last stage by Hayden, but it was a good rally nonetheless. It was a tough rally, and we worked well as a team, so I can be proud of that.
The Sol Rally Barbados WRC champion had high praise for his sponsors and crew, saying it was a team effort and he would be back.
Technical crew, boy, I owe them everything this weekend. They prepared and provided a flawless car for me. So fellas Rommel and Bonnie and the engineer Jonathan and Mr. Gilmore did a really good job this year.
Skeet and Mayhew were overall winners in 2019 and again last year, but started this year with some caution due to the quality field entered for the Barbados Rally Club's Blue Ribbon event.
King of the Hill was more of a shakedown, just a dry run. We didn't really take any risks in that event because we know we had the rally coming up, so I generally wasn't expecting to be too quick for King of the Hill, but as you saw, we came on the box as hard as we could on Friday night at Rally Barbados. And we were able to edge him, but not quite Zane. And then we spent Saturday just trying to stay close because the stages didn't really suit me and my car. And then Sunday morning, we were given a gift. And from there, then we had to turn it all the way up. And we pushed and we fought back and forth all through the day, but in the end he was just a little bit quicker.
Skeet said he was comfortable with the quality and composition of the stages chosen for the rally and gave the thumbs up for the route setters.
Stages were good. I enjoyed all of the stages. I can't complain with any of them. The transits were nice. Overall, the rally was a good rally, one of the best I've ever done, I think.
And with Sol Rally Barbados and King of the Hill settled, the 2023 motoring season will continue with a speed event next month. Trevor Thorpe, CBC Sports.
Thanks, Trevor. And one final note, the National Senior Games track and field program is still on tomorrow, starting from 3:30 p.m. at the Usain Bolt Complex. Admission is free.
That's our time tonight. Thank you for spending yours with us. I'm Pearson Boeing. For the crew, to all of you, have a wonderful weekend. Good night.
Thanks for visiting us. Now, if you want to see more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can always go to cbc.bb for the latest news and current affairs.